So, you've been playing your Nintendo Switch constantly, and you start realizing that the good old Joy-Con comfort grip isn't as comfortable as you think it is. Well, there is an alternative option. You can go buy the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller, and this Pro Controller will really give you the edge in gaming. So, the Pro Controller retails at around $69.99 US. And for some of you, that may be a little pricey. But here at Nintendo Joe, we will be unboxing and reviewing the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller and comparing it and contrasting it to the Joy-Con Comfort Grip, so you can decide whether or not you would like to purchase a Pro Controller for yourself. Inside the box itself, you get the Pro Controller and the Pro Controller charging cable, which is USB Type-C. Once you have your Pro Controller and charging cable out of the box, take the USB end of the charging cable and plug it into the side of your dock. On the top of your Pro Controller will be a slot for you to put in your USB Type-C cable. So now you can charge your Pro Controller. And there you go. Now taking a look at the Pro Controller, it has the exact same buttons as the Joy-Con, both having the D-pad, the right and left analog sticks, the A, B, X, Y buttons, the minus and plus buttons, the capture button, the home button, the left and right triggers, and the ZL and ZR triggers. Now, first taking a look at the similarities between the Joy-Cons and the Pro Controller is that they both have the same buttons as I mentioned before, they both have HD rumble, motion controls, and they both take amiibo. But what's the difference between the Joy-Con grip and the Pro Controller? Well, let's find out. The grips on the Pro Controller are more spread out than the ones on the Joy-Cons, and the grips itself are a lot more chunkier to suit the hands. Now, looking at the button placement and layout of the Joy-Cons versus the Pro Controller, the first noticeable difference is that you can see that the Joy-Con's D-pad is actually 4 arrow buttons, as the Pro Controller is an actual D-pad. And for some games, an actual D-pad may be better than using these Joy-Con buttons. The next difference between the Joy-Cons and the Pro Controller is that the right and left analog sticks are positioned differently. The right analog stick on the right Joy-Con is placed directly under the A, B, X, Y buttons. As for the Pro Controller, it's slightly towards the left. Same with the D-pad. The left analog stick is directly placed above the D-pad on the Joy-Cons, but on the Pro Controller, it's slightly to the left. And this is good for first-person shooters. While you're using the analog sticks, it's easy to access the A, B, X, Y buttons and the D-pad. As for the Joy-Cons, it may be kind of hard to go up or down because you have to position your hands differently. Also, looking at the analog sticks, the ones on the Pro Controller have a much wider circular range, and you can move them a lot more comfortably than the ones on the Joy-Cons. They have little movement, but with the Pro Controller, they've got nice and easy movement. The next difference is the triggers, and on the Pro Controller's triggers, the ZR and ZL buttons are a lot more curved so they can fit the fingers nicely. Same with the bumpers, the left and right triggers. They're a lot fatter than the ones on the Joy-Con because they fit the hands more comfortably. With the Joy-Con, on the other hand, the left and right bumpers or triggers are a lot smaller and thinner, and the ZL and ZR triggers are a lot smaller and are clicky. But with the Pro Controller, they're a lot more smooth. Now, the last difference between the Pro Controller and the Joy-Cons is that the Joy-Cons take around 3.5 hours to charge from 0 to 100. As for the Pro Controller, it takes 6 hours to charge from 0 to 100. But the Joy-Con's battery life will give you around 20 hours of gameplay. As for the Pro Controllers, it will give you around 40 hours of gameplay, nearly doubling the amount of the Joy-Cons. So, personally, I love my Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. I think it's one of the best controllers Nintendo's ever made. And it helps you play your Switch games in a more traditional way, like an Xbox or PlayStation controller. But should you get a Pro Controller when you first buy your Switch? I don't think so. You see, try out the Comfort Grip for a little while, and maybe it is comfortable. Maybe you don't need to buy a Pro Controller because you already think the Joy-Con grip is good enough for you. But if you absolutely do not like the Joy-Con grip, you don't like that you don't have a D-pad or the way the analog sticks are placed, then maybe $70 is worth it for the Pro Controller. But anyways, that is my unboxing and review of the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. I'm hoping my video gave you enough information to let you decide whether or not you would like to buy a Pro Controller for yourself. Tell me in the comment section below what other accessories or games for the Nintendo Switch you would like me to unbox and or review. And as always, leave a like, share this video with your friends, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already so you don't miss any more Nintendo content. And as always, this is Nintendo Joe signing out. Whoosh.